Good evening, demons. How's everybody doing today? I am fucking exhausted. Oh god, I slept for the better part of the last... Okay, well, very tired? Same! Oh god, I slept from like 2 p.m.-ish Monday to close to 2 p.m. today. Because I didn't get much sleep over the weekend. Like, really not a lot. Especially Monday night to Sunday morning. Nope, Monday to Sunday morning. Wow, that's a whole week. Monday night to Tuesday morning. Because I specifically stayed up at my buddy's place so I could take an early train home. But holy shit, I am still so tired. That being said, we didn't get to finish Chapter 4 last week. Because we were running at like almost 5 hours, and it was kind of ridiculous. I enjoyed the trip at least? Oh yeah, I had a great time. Yeah, I had a really good time. I'm still so sleepy. Like, it was worth it. I'm just like, I'm probably gonna sleep like 13 hours again tonight minimum.
Stop by again.
No! Please be not BEB. Load.
I needed that break. Back to it.
It's just all Mr. Kim. Also just woke up from a nap. Ugh. I should have slept more today. But alright, let's jump in. I believe where we left off was what was it? It was Silver was like someone knocked at her window, but really it's going to be Silver. It's late and the moon is high in the sky when there's suddenly a knock at my window. I burst up from my spot on the floor where I'd been dozing. Same, I also sometimes just nap on the floor.
What the...
In the darkness, it takes a moment for me to discern the face behind the glass. When I do, it turns out to be the last person I'd expect. Really, Miho, this should be the first person you expect.
Silver?
Who else would knock at your window on a 2-story building? I pull the window open to where Silver is perched on the branch of a nearby tree.
What are... How did... Why not just use the door?
Come outside. I would speak with you.
Fucking nerd. She's like, I can't use the door. That's a human thing. Ignoring my questions like always, Silver stands up. I catch the corner of a cocky smile before she leaps from the branch, plummeting towards the ground below. You've never seen her face. She's always got her thing pulled up.
Hey!
Clutching the windowsill, I jam my head out the window, expecting to see her crumpled on the grass. Instead, I'm just in time to watch her nimbly land on her feet and transform before running off into the darkness behind the library. You weren't here when we met Silver? We met Silver in, like, chapter 1 or 2. She's the only other Gumiho in town. She's a giant edgelord because she thinks that we're being domesticated, but in reality, she just doesn't know how to people. She's a bitch, but I like her. With no time to wait or even think about it, I follow after her. Of course, I take the stairs and go out the front door first. I transform right away and wrap around the building, expecting to have to chase after Silver, even though she came here. Instead, she hasn't gone at all. Just beyond the edge of the yard, she stands in her human form and stares out at the city below us. Many windows are dark, but many are illuminated too. The streetlights and lamps stand lit, even with no one to use them. A warm yellow glow pushes away the darkness at the edges of town. Changing forms back as well, I walk over to stand beside her. Without looking at me, Silver extends an arm in front of her, as if reaching for the city. It's her wrist with her bracelet on it, and her bead shines in the dark like another street lamp. Unhooking my necklace, I hold it out alongside hers. What, is this the fucking thing from Kingdom Hearts 2 where they're all holding up the jewels from the trophy? The glow of my bead is about as bright as hers. Scoffing, Silver lowers her arm, and I put my necklace back on. We're gonna get Oathkeeper? Aw, yeah! I wait for her to start talking instead of saying anything myself. I find myself doing this a lot with Aspen and Juliet as well, although here it's different. Not only was Silver the one who came to me, but anything I say would probably be ignored anyway. Sure enough, it isn't long before she twirls around to point a finger in my face. Yeah, she's just a giant tsundere.
Listen up, because I'm only going to tell you this once.
Sun. That's one more time than I usually get. I just nod, signaling for her to continue.
I simply couldn't watch you continue to wallow in ignorance.
Sun. She's so bad. It's like, you're trying to be nice, but you don't know how to be nice, so you gotta pretend to be an asshole while you do it.
Whereas your magic causes those you encounter to forget about you, mine assists me in a different way. It tells me the truth of things, of people, human and fabled alike. To my eyes, their emotions are as colors. Fear, like everything else, has its own glow. I've seen it ignite in my presence, at my command. In this way, I've survived. The betrayal of their hearts is twofold. They reveal unseen feelings that they try to mask with words. And the hearts of men are fickle besides. I've seen boredom turn to cruelty, fear become hatred. This is what I see, and you do not. The truth that lies behind all promises and pretenses. Today's friends are tomorrow's bitter foes. You should know all this. I know what it's like to be one of us. I know what you've lived through. And yet, even now...
She cuts herself off and scoffs. Or maybe it's her choking something back.
What color is mine right now?
To give her an out, I ask a question instead. Her eyes narrow, but with concentration, not irritation. As I stand there, I match her gaze. This is the first time we've really spoken normally, instead of her trying to pick a fight or hide from me. She's the first to look away, speaking to the ground.
The color of young spring.
So, like, green?
It's difficult to read the aura of our kind, requiring my concentration and focus. Even then, it's but a pale glow. With humans and most others, they cannot hide their light from me if they wanted to.
Like why you don't forget about me, right? Even though everyone else does.
She nods. I want to know what that color means to her. I also want to know why she's choosing to just tell me this after dodging everything else I've ever asked her. I'm sure she wouldn't tell me if I tried. But there is something else that I do have to ask, because I'm pretty sure I already know the answer.
Have you ever told anyone else?
Staring at the ground, it takes a long time before Silver shakes her head.
Thought so.
I don't think Silver's quite as old as I am, but she still spent decades on her own, if not longer. Just like me. In all that time, any chances I might have had to do something different or change something, I just let pass me by. I never had any idea what I might be missing. Beside me, Silver adjusts her mask and shifts her weight to her good leg. She's about to transform and probably run away. She had to have some reason for bringing me out here, right? Was she hoping that I'd be the one to extend a hand? I think she'd get along with Aspen and Juliet once she had some time to warm up to them. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be having this conversation with her right now. Before she can change, I suddenly reach over and put my hand on Silver's shoulder. She stiffens and goes tense beneath my fingers, pulling away inconceivably fast. Facing me from a few meters away, I don't need to be able to read auras to detect the anger emanating from her.
I'm sorry.
Damn it, that was dumb, even for me. I hold up my hands, trying to show that I won't do it again.
I just...
Just what? Wanted to help her? Saying that would definitely make her hate me. Instead, I'd clamp my jaw shut before I can make things worse. For a moment, her face softens and she looks torn. She dispels that by shaking her head.
We're even now.
Within seconds, she's a fox, and then she's part of the night, vanished into the darkness. This time, I don't even think about chasing her. I would have gotten upset too if one of my friends had done that to me early on too, but I don't think she'll hold it against me. At least, not any more than the rest of my existence. After all, I realized way too late, her coming here in the first place was already her reaching out. And if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that you can't rush these things.
I'm sorry. I hope I'll see you again soon.
I don't yell, but I don't whisper either. I'm pretty sure that she's still close enough to be able to hear me. I've done about as much as I can. The rest is up to her. My eyes start to glaze over as I flip to a new check-in sheet, marking off the last few books in a small pile of returns. Work isn't any busier than usual, but I'm finding it hard to stay focused. Tucked in a corner nearby are the books and worksheets that I've used to learn how to read and write. I've gone through almost all of them by now, practicing each letter hundreds of times. Even reading, which used to seem so mysterious and difficult, has gotten easier. I'm not as fast as Aspen or Juliet, of course, but at least I'm not limited to the kids section of the library anymore. Yeah, you go, mijo. I think back to my first time coming here, when I scoped the place out before trying to steal Cosette's painting. It was a dumb idea either way, but I could have never guessed how that one bad decision would affect the rest of my life. It was here at the library that I told Aspen and Juliet that I wanted to learn how to be a person. At the time, that all seemed almost as impossible as learning to read. Smart little baby girl who's like several hundred years old. A lot of impossible things have happened to me in this place, though. Now, what's hard to imagine is not having the library. What would it be like to walk out the doors for a final time and never go back? It seems as unbelievable as all the other changes that have occurred in my life. That's why I can't stop thinking about it. I know it could happen. Looking back at the papers in front of me, I glanced through the list of names written there. Some are new, but others I recognize. Some people have been coming here longer than I have, while others have just visited for the first time. I wonder if I know them better than Juliet does. The library door opens, and I look up to see a familiar face.
Hey, Aspen.
Aspen waves as she approaches the desk.
Hello, hello.
She wasn't here for breakfast, so this is the first time I've seen her today. In fact, I was going to have to call her soon just to check in.
You're not working today?
No. In fact, I even asked to have my hours cut back a bit. I need all the writing time I can get.
Are you still trying to find a publisher?
Unfortunately. It's not all bad, though. I haven't gotten any outright acceptances yet, but I've had some interests at least. One editor gave me suggestions for how I could make my manuscript stand out more, so I've been furiously making revisions. I finally told my boss that I'd have to decline running the new store. I simply don't have the time for it right now.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm glad your writing's going okay, though.
Me too. Regina was also understanding. Disappointed, but understanding. I actually came up here to do some writing since it's been a while. I take it Juliet's gone to bed already?
Yeah. After breakfast, like usual.
Tell her I said hello later, please. How are things going for the two of you?
What do you mean?
As in your relationship, stupid.
I mean, you've been dating for a few weeks now, right? How's that going?
Oh, it's good. I think.
She's never done a relationship before. Be nice. She raises her eyebrows.
You think?
Well...
Aspen still doesn't know about Juliet potentially leaving, or how that's been on both our minds. And I promised Juliet I wouldn't tell her about it either. Seeing me struggling for how to answer, Aspen's face softens a bit.
Would you like to talk about it? Not that I'm much of a help when it comes to this kind of thing, but if you have to think about it for so long, then clearly something is amiss.
I thought you were gonna be busy writing.
I'm not so busy that I can't listen to a friend's troubles, but you don't have to tell me about it if you don't want to.
No... It would be kinda nice to talk about it, I guess. Although, there's some stuff I can't tell you.
What are the... Okay, who else thinks Aspen's gonna think she's talking about something spicy? Because that's where my mind went. Aspen's gonna be like, of course, you don't have to tell me any of that stuff, ha 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 ha.
That's fine. I understand.
Aww.
Would you like to go back to the dining room?
Damn it, we were wrong.
That sounds good.
Leaving the library papers on the desk, the two of us go back and sit down at the table.
So, what's eating at you?
I don't know where to start.
More specifically, it's hard to say without breaking my promise, but also it's more than just the uncertainty that's been bugging me.
Let me try then. Do you like dating Juliet?
Yeah.
He's easy, happy Miho.
Good. And I hope you don't mind me asking, do you think she likes dating you?
I'm pretty sure she does. She says so, at least. We hug and kiss each other a lot, and spend time together when we can.
What do the two of you do together?
Aspen, you can't ask that.
We go on walks sometimes. I even got her to hang out with me as a bat for a while, too.
That sounds nice. What else?
We still have breakfast pretty much every day. And sometimes I sit with her while she works. And I read a book or something.
That's good too. Although you already did those before you started dating, right?
She could barely read before then.
Yeah, that stuff hasn't changed too much.
Is there anything else you'd like to do together? Do you ever go on any actual dates? To the movies, or out to dinner, or anything like that?
She doesn't taste anything. What's the point in going out to dinner?
Nah, we stay at home most of the time.
Aspen pushes her glasses up with one finger, wrinkling her nose like she's studying something. I'm just imagining she's doing the anime thing where she uses her middle finger.
I think I'm beginning to see the problem.
You are?
I mean, I'm hardly an expert when it comes to matters of the heart. I've just read a lot of books about it. But it sounds pretty clear that you're wanting something more out of this relationship, right?
Something more? Like what?
I don't know. That's up to you. affection, attention, reassurance, whatever. But if you have to think about if things are going well, or if Juliet feels the same way as you, then that sounds like something's missing.
Something in Aspen's words does ring true. I really do like what I have with Juliet, but sometimes it feels like we're just friends.
I guess you might be right. I don't really know what's normal, though. Or what I should expect. I don't think she does either.
See, it's not a problem because it's just the two of them not knowing what they're doing. They just gotta, like, talk it out and then it'll be good. But I'm glad it's not like a actual troubles sort of thing.
I'm not sure there is such a thing as normal.
Yeah, especially not when you're a Gumiho dating a vampire.
I just think that whatever you have should make you feel more confident and satisfied, not less. That's simply common sense.
Yeah, maybe.
Have you expressed any of this to her?
Nah. There's a lot of other stuff on her mind. Besides, like you said, I don't even really know what else it is that I want.
I think you do, even if you aren't aware of it.
Huh?
I mean, listen to yourself. You want to feel more secure in your relationship, right? That's a perfectly normal thing to want, too. I'm sure she does have a lot in her mind. She's Juliet. But I should think that her girlfriend's well-being would be near the top of her priority list. Dating someone is supposed to be about give and take. Even I know that much.
What do you think I should do then?
Talk to her.
Everything you're saying makes sense, but...
No buts. I just think you should talk to her.
Yep.
Whatever secrets you two have going on in the background, I'm sure they don't change the simple facts.
Sounds nice to hear Aspen say girlfriend. You should see it in the other route. It's so cute.
And the fact is that if things are going to work out for the two of you, then she's going to have to put in effort as well. I'm sure she couldn't disagree with that.
I guess you have a point.
Although I don't want to admit it, what Aspen's saying feels right. Bringing all this up with Juliet sounds difficult, especially when I'm trying to make her not want to go. I worry that if I tell her everything I'm thinking, it might just make her decide to leave. But I can't deny that one way or another, something has to change.
Of course I do. Even if it's just that talking things out makes things better. If they don't get better, then that's a resolution unto itself. You both have to want what's best for yourselves, and for each other. Hopefully those will line up, but if not, then you're just going to keep feeling this way. I'm not exactly sure how you feel, beyond confused, but I can hardly imagine it's pleasant.
It's not all bad. I really do like the time that I spend with her. I like that we can just be together without saying or doing much. I just wish that wasn't all we did.
Tell her that. If there's one thing I know for sure about Juliet, it's that she's good at listening. It's up to her to learn how to respond.
Yeah, you're right. It feels kind of scary, but it shouldn't, right?
I think it's normal. After all, you've only been together a short time. But if you're in love, if it's meant to be, then you shouldn't be afraid to be open with her about your feelings. That's the only way either of you can grow.
That makes sense. You sure do have a lot of good advice for someone who's not an expert.
And who also has feeling, well, at least at one point had feelings for you. Don't know if she still carries that torch.
I don't really need to be in this case. Besides, I know the two of you well enough to get how things turned out this way. That's why I think it will be alright in the end, too.
I hope you're right. Thanks for talking with me. And for everything you said too.
Of course. I'm glad I could help. I want things to work out for the both of you.
With our conversation finished, Aspen sets up her writing stuff in the kitchen since the main room is too crowded and brews herself a pot of coffee. I go back to my seat at the front to think about what she said. One thing Aspen is definitely right about is that the notion of leaving doesn't change our other problems. Honestly, it's a relief to hear her think of them as problems too. I've been afraid of doing the wrong thing so much that it's kept me from trying to do the right thing. Juliet and I will talk about heavy stuff and then split up to think about it on our own. Then, when we do spend time together again, neither of us bring it up. I've been that way because I don't want to bring the mood down or spoil what could be good times, but it's not like that's kept us from feeling bad. Maybe it would be better to just get it over with, painful or not. Maybe it would help us both make up our minds, too. Yep, rip the Band-Aid off. Even if the conclusions we come to are the ones I'm afraid of, it's not like delaying them will make them any less real. Hiding from the truth doesn't make it untrue. Taking a deep breath, I steel myself for the conversation I know I'll have to have later, and start thinking about what it is I want to say. Going fishing! Is the king here yet? Despite all the worries that I have in my everyday life right now, fishing with Mr. Kim always offers a nice break from them. When I first started, I thought that all the standing around was boring. Now, I appreciate the downtime that it gives me. It's just involved enough that I can't totally space out and get lost in my thoughts, but also passive enough that I can relax and not work too hard. Sometimes I catch a lot of fish, and sometimes I catch nothing, but either way, I enjoy myself. Carrying the fishing rod Mr. Kim gave me to and from the waterfront has become a nice part of my routine. Feels like it helps me keep my mind set on what I'm doing. Plus, the fact that he gave me something so important means that I have to put it to good use. When he's not helping the others, Mr. Kim sometimes fishes with me. He shows me all kinds of different bait and tackle, and teaches me some of the different species too. The more time I spend learning, the more I understand what he meant when he told me he tries to get to know the fish and the sea. There's still more than a month before the king's supposed to be in our area, so there's plenty of time for me to get acquainted too. I don't know if it'll make a difference or not, but it definitely can't hurt. Aside from that, there isn't a whole lot I can do to prepare. I'll just have to hope that my patience pays off. Even just getting to see the king would be enough for me. If anyone's gonna catch him, it should be Mr. Kim, since he's been trying for so many years. I don't know how many other people will be out hunting for him too, but Mr. Kim says it'll be a lot. Either way, I can't wait for December to roll around, when we'll finally get our chance to land him. After spending some time outside, I get back to the library in the early evening and start closing up for the night. The last few patrons around say goodbye as they trickle past me and out the door, and I give absent-minded responses as they go. Aspen must have left some time while I was out. Stacking the shelving books gives me something to occupy my hands, but my thoughts are running wild. I just keep an ear open for the sounds of Juliet waking up, running water, shutting doors, or even her voice coming down the hallway. I've spent all day thinking about Aspen's words and what I want to say to Juliet, but my feelings are still a mess. Regardless, I plan to talk to her tonight. Every other day that I put it off is just another day that I'll feel like this. Aspen said I shouldn't be afraid of talking to Juliet, but in this case, it's hard not to be nervous. After all, this conversation could change our entire relationship, for better or worse. That means my entire life could change too. I should be used to potentially life-changing moments by now, but my heart is still racing. All I can do is trust in myself and in Juliet. Doing those two things have gotten me this far. I just have to speak from my heart and hope that she understands. In a weird way, I'm kind of glad that it feels like there's so much on the line here. No matter what opens, I hope I can have some closure soon. The last library guest eventually leaves, and I finish everything that needs doing. After pointlessly adjusting the chairs and straightening out some papers for the 100th time, I go to the kitchen and make myself a cup of tea. She really has come so far. I wonder if she still eats the sugar cubes. I found myself drinking more tea over the past few weeks. Oh, she's talking about it. I still don't like the taste on its own, but with enough sugar I can tolerate it. Making tea is kind of soothing too. Heating up the water, scooping up the leaves, watching it steep. I imagine that's why Juliet drinks it, even as a vampire. I sit at the table and sip my drink, unable to do much besides that. I consider going and watching TV, but I know I wouldn't be able to pay attention. So instead, I sit and wait. After what seems like forever, I finally hear sounds from upstairs. I force myself to wait a little bit longer and give Juliet some time to properly wake up. Wiping my palms on my legs, I count the seconds away. Palms sweaty. Knees weak. Arms are heavy. Something going wrong already. Mom's spaghetti. I don't actually know the words to that. I saw an opportunity for Mom's spaghetti and I took it. When it feels like it's been long enough, I stand up. Before I go upstairs, I refill my mug and prepare a cup of tea for Juliet as well. Again, the simple process helps me to focus on something else for a moment and clear my mind. Once both cups are ready, I take them and go upstairs. I pause outside Juliet's study, listening for just a second to make sure I'm not interrupting anything. I don't hear anyone else with her, so I knock.
Come in.
I step inside.
Good evening, Miho. I was just about to come down and see you.
Hey, I made you some tea.
I pass her one of the mugs, which she accepts with a smile.
Thank you. That's very thoughtful.
I just nod, taking a seat without being offered.
Can we talk?
Juliet stiffens, probably at my words as well as my actions. This is the only way I can do it, though. It's this, or freak out. Being blunt is the best way to go around it, but still, in most relationships, the three words, can we talk, or the 4 words, we need to talk, will always spark fear in your partner's heart.
Of course.
There's a little shake in her voice, too. That makes me feel a bit better somehow. She doesn't say anything else. Juliet pulls her chair out from behind the desk and sits down close to me, but not touching me. It's not too different from a couple of weeks ago when we sat here and she told me about the underworld and asked me to go with her. I wonder if she has an idea of what it is I want to talk about. I'd be surprised if not. To give myself one last second of preparation, I take a long drink of tea, centering myself around the warmth and aroma. Then I set the mug down on the desk. I force myself to make eye contact with her, even as my mind wants to look away.
Aspen came by the library this morning to do some writing. She said she decided not to take that job at the New Bell House. We talked for a while, and she asked some questions about us. About you and me, I mean. She asked how things were going between us, and I told her I don't really know, basically.
Juliet's eyes widen, and I see her swallow, but she doesn't say anything. She just waits for me to continue.
She could tell that something was bothering me. I didn't tell her you might be leaving, just to get that out of the way. I kept my promise about that. She asked me some other questions, though, and helped me realize some stuff. Some stuff that I've been feeling for a while, but didn't tell you. Because I didn't want to bother you when you already have so much on your mind. And I was afraid that if I did, it might be another reason to make you want to leave. But talking with Aspen made me realize that if I don't tell you, then it's just going to make things worse. So, I spent all day trying to think about how to say it, but still couldn't figure it out. Obviously.
Still silent, Juliet is so motionless as she listens that she could almost pass for a doll. I take a deep breath, looking away from her face.
Do you love me?
My throat contracts as I ask, barely able to whisper. I take a sip of tea to steady myself.
Oh, Miho. Of course I do. I do love you. I hadn't meant to make you question that.
Juliet whispers too, although sounding strained. Her hand twitches like she's going to reach out for me, but stops herself.
I love you too.
This time, my words sound more like a gasp. I can feel the imminent pressure of tears, and it's all I can do to keep myself from crying.
I really do. You helped teach me what love even is. And that I could be in love. So that's why. That's why.
2 tears roll down my cheeks as I look into her eyes again, seeing them sparkle as well.
That's why I don't want to have to ask. I just want to know. We say it to each other, and we hug and we kiss, but it feels like that's it. I know we said we didn't need to use certain words or do certain things, and that's true, but sometimes it feels like we're still just friends, like nothing's changed. I like being with you and just doing nothing, but I don't want to always do nothing, and to do things you want to do too. I want to have fun with you, not just make you less sad. Sometimes I don't even know if I do that. It's not just that you want to leave. I get why you do. But even if I go with you, would things be any different? Or would we still be like this? Because I don't want to keep wondering. I know we haven't been together for very long, but I don't want to keep feeling like you're only with me because I asked, or for my sake. You're always doing things for other people. I love that about you. But I couldn't take it if this was one of those things. Right now, that's how it seems sometimes.
Somehow I manage to stifle my tears and keep from breaking down entirely. I breathe out deeply, letting my words linger in the air between us. I feel strangely serene, the tempest of anxiety that's buffeted me all day getting calmer. I've said what was on my mind, and so now there's no taking it back. No matter what happens now, no matter what Juliet says, at least I was honest. Next to me, Juliet buries her face in her hands. Her shoulders shake, and I can hear her trying to get herself under control. It feels weird for us to be in these positions. Usually it's the other way around. I slide to the floor and scoot closer, wrapping my arms around her and putting my head against Juliet's side. It's an awkward position and not very comfortable, but it's all I can manage right now. Even while she continues to cry, I feel her place one hand on top of my head, stroking my hair gently as she vents her feelings. I focus on that sensation, and the rise and fall of her chest with every breath, while I wait for her to be able to respond. She let me say my piece uninterrupted, and I want to do the same for her. Slowly, Juliet regains her composure and finally wipes her face with one sleeve. I lean back and sit up, though I stay on the floor close to her. It's not the first time I've seen Juliet cry, but I've never seen her look like this before. Now she's a mess.
Miho,
I reach up and take one of her hands, wet with tears.
I don't even know where to begin. I suppose I should start with what's most important.
Juliet stands and I stand with her, like when we danced and several other times after that. We face each other, just a few inches apart.
I love you, Miho. I truly do. So much that it scares me. And I've let that fear hurt you. I'm not young anymore. From the outside, I've seen so many relationships begin and end. I've had dalliances of my own. I know the volatility of the heart. So, to find myself falling for you so quickly and so deeply, I didn't know how to respond to my own feelings with anything other than doubt. We spoke of this before, with Aspen in the gardens that night. I thought that I could be the kind of friend I said I would. Closer and more vulnerable. I did mean those words, believing that that kind of friendship was enough. Yet even as I promised to be more open, I was already setting new boundaries in my heart. I knew of Aspen's feelings for you at the time, even as I was aware of my own beginning to blossom. When you came to me and asked about love, I expected and even wanted you to accept Aspen's confession. And while I would never, ever have wished for her to forget you like she did, the pathetic relief I felt when you told me you had decided not to return her feelings was indescribable. Over the coming days, as I began to suspect that you might feel the same way about me as I did about you, I found myself of two minds. Hoping I was right and hoping I was wrong. Even as I told you that pain and heartbreak were unavoidable parts of connection and relationships, I could feel the sharp sting of hypocrisy in my throat. The words I spoke were true, and yet I had sworn myself away from those things. The thought of being with you was euphoric, and the thought of someday losing you was crushing. Those are both still true as well. That night by the sea, when you said that you loved me, I was so happy and so afraid. By remaining somewhere in the middle, I thought that I was protecting you as well as myself. What a fool I was. All I've done is hurt both of us more.
I can't wait any longer. I pull Juliet toward me, taking her by surprise. She stumbles, but I catch her, wrapping my arms around her again. I hold her as tightly as I can, like I'll never let her go.
I'm sorry, Miho. I am so sorry for making you feel this way for so long.
It's okay. Really. I wouldn't have said all this if I didn't want to make things work.
Thank you. I'll do better from now on. I promise. I really promise this time.
Juliet's lips find mine and we kiss like it's the first time. In a way, maybe it is. I know things can't be fixed with just one conversation. It's the start, not the end. But it's the start of something exciting. Just like when we first shared our feelings with each other. Whatever awaits us in the future, whether it's good or bad or somewhere in between, I'm looking forward to facing it. As long as it's with Juliet. Juliet eventually ends our kiss, but only moves far enough away to look down at me lovingly. Her face is still streaked with tears, and her hair is a disheveled mess. But somehow I don't think she's ever looked more beautiful to me.
I love you, Miho.
I can't help but smile in response.
I love you too.
I don't doubt her words at all. When Juliet and I finally said our goodbyes for the night and I went to sleep, it was with a much lighter heart than the past few days. Before we split up, I asked her to show me how to get to the nature preserve where her friend took the bird, and she walked me through how to reach a shuttle that'll take me there. I need something to pass the time before she wakes up, and I want to see how the bird is doing, so it seemed like a perfect time to visit. In the morning, after I get up and out of bed, I have a quick breakfast on my own since I slept in. Then, once I'm ready, I make the short walk to the stop where I can get on the shuttle and ride it the rest of the way there. The driver takes us in the direction of the Bell House and Aspen's apartment. I've walked down these roads so many times that it feels strange to see them rush by out the windows. It's like I'm fast-forwarding through a TV show. At some point, we take a turn I've never taken before, and soon we're going through areas that are new to me. I watch them go by, not paying enough attention to commit them to memory. Eventually, I stop and disembark. As I get my first whiff of the clean air, I understand why it's a preserve. As far as I can see, the land is covered in forest. Not just trees, but forest, grown so thick that it looks like a solid wall of green. The only exception is a river that winds through the hills, where the water is crystal clear and still. The nearby botanical gardens were lovely, but this is something else. This is something more. Oh, choice. And this one will affect our ending. This is actually the last choice? Are we actually on chapter 4? No, chapter 4. The fuck? I think we were doing the comfy ending first, so option 1, we want I'm glad to have settled down now. Yeah, it's weird. Normally the last two choices are saved for chapter 5 and Aspen's route, but I guess chapter 5 is, I've got a feeling it's going to be a lot shorter. It reminds me of my days in the wild, running free. Although those were good times, I prefer the simplicity and security of my daily life that I've established. I quietly pay for my ticket and then hurry out as fast as I can. I can see why Juliet said they wouldn't be able to help me find my bird. There are a ton of places it could be. But that doesn't mean I can't try. Maybe if I found the person who took the bird in, they'd know what happened to it. I might have better luck just looking for it myself, though. It's a big place, I decide. Too big for me to try and explore on my own. I should look for Juliet's friend, Amaya. I should have asked Juliet how to contact her before I left. I'm sure Juliet's asleep by now, and I don't want to disturb her. Besides, it's not like I'm in a hurry. Taking my time, I try to see as much as I can. It's not crowded, but the preserve is far from empty, too. There are just as many fabled as there are humans. Some I recognize, like a faun and a dryad. I wonder if the trees make any of them feel like I do. If any of them have a story like I do. Come from someplace far away like I do. There are kids, too. Human kids with their teachers being led around by tour guides. Lots of them look excited to be here. I hope maybe they can learn to love it as well. I ask some of the guides or instructors if they know who and where Amaya is. Some of them have no idea what I'm talking about. Some know her, but not her location. Finally, I find someone who's able to point me in the right direction. I end up back near where I started, near the edge of the river. Sure enough, the lady from before is there, talking with another guest. I wait until they finish their conversation before I approach.
Excuse me.
Hi, how can I help you?
A few weeks ago, you picked up a hurt bird from my friend Juliet. I was wondering if you could tell me where it is now.
Oh, right. That poor guy. I'm afraid the little fellow didn't make it. I think that when he took the tumble that hurt his leg, he must have hurt something inside him too.
Aww. Birdie.
Oh.
It's dead. I hadn't even thought about that possibility. This whole time I just assumed it'd be alive. That it had gotten better.
It's sad, but it's the way of nature sometimes. Mind if I ask how you were involved?
Could have lied and said it got released. Yeah, but I think at a nature preserve, they're more likely to be upfront about things like that happen. Naturally, she doesn't remember me being there.
I was the one who found it and brought it to Juliet's. I wasn't around when you picked it up, though.
Oh, right. Well, you can sleep easy and know that you did what you could.
She sounds so casual about it. I guess she's probably experienced this a lot. Meanwhile, I don't know what to say. I just stand there, surprised. It was just a bird, sure, but that's still something. For the bird, it was everything. Amaya starts to walk away, but before she can leave, there's something I want to know. Something I've never given much thought to before, but that my recent time with Silver has made me wonder about.
Hey, I have a question.
Shoot.
Do you believe in fate?
That's a question. She stares at me in mild shock. It's a weird thing to ask, I know, but I hold her gaze and don't back down.
Now there's a question.
Looking past me at the water, she takes a deep breath and lets it out slowly.
If you're asking if I think there's a world out there where that bird survives or never gets hurt to begin with, then sure, maybe. I'm not smart enough to know, but it's not this one.
Bit heavy for a question? Depends on what you believe, I guess.
Destiny, luck, whatever you want to call it. Life's unfair, that's a fact. It doesn't care about any one of us. Sometimes you can do everything right, and it just isn't enough.
That is not failure. That is life. Thanks to Captain Picard for that one.
I don't think that's destiny personally. That's just being alive. Being here, doing what I can to help who I can, that's just me playing my part in life. If that's because some invisible force led me, then it doesn't change anything. Bigger picture or not, it's what I choose to do with my time right now. And I choose to believe that makes a difference. Hope that helps.
Thanks.
Don't mention it. Say hi to Juliet for me, will you?
Yeah, no problem.
Once again, she starts to walk away, and this time I don't stop her. Instead, I walk out to the nearby gazebo and sit down, surrounded by quiet water. Even though her reasoning was totally different, I can't help but think how Amaya pretty much said the same thing Silver did. It was just a bird, and that's life. Silver, who wanted to let it die, and Amaya, who tried to help it live. I wonder how Silver would feel if she heard the news. I'm sure she'd pretend not to care, but she did follow me all the way back to the library just to see. On the other hand, Amaya didn't seem all that upset. I could tell she didn't know why it mattered to me. Like always, it's hard for me to answer that question myself. I know how nature works as well as either of them. Wow, I think I messed that up. I know how nature works as well as either of them. I know better than to expect it to care. That doesn't mean I can't, though. Even if no one else sees it, that bird was still as alive as we were. Maybe it didn't read books or drink coffee or watch TV, but it still existed. It ate and flew and sang. The forest on Mount Victoria will be a little more quiet from now on, even if nobody notices. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference myself, I know. It's not like that bird and I were friends. Still, whenever I go back, I'll think about it, and think about the tree that used to be its home, the nest that it'll never return to. Sighing, I stand up and start walking again. Despite how it turned out, I'm still glad I came to this place. I'm still glad it exists. It might not be perfect, but it's doing the best it can. I spend a few hours wandering around the preserve and never run out of things to see. There are birds, lizards, all kind of other creatures, plus a forest that reminds me of Korea. The calm beauty of it all helps me feel better after hearing about the bird. At least it got to spend its last few days in a place as gorgeous as this. After a while, I leave the park and wait for a shuttle to take me back where I came from, and then walk the rest of the way to the library. Once I'm home, I spend the rest of the day napping and watching TV while I wait for Juliet to wake up. That night, I'm dozing in my room, drifting in and out of sleep, when there's a knock at my door. 3 knocks, like always.
Come in.
The door swings open and Juliet stands there. I leap to my feet, sleepiness disappearing in an instant.
Good evening, Miho.
Hey.
She welcomes me into her arms with a hug and a kiss. I'm sure last night's conversation is still front and center in her mind. The two of us go downstairs and Juliet starts preparing tea, setting a mug at both our spots at the table.
How was your visit to the nature preserve?
It was really nice. I had no idea there was a place like that in Wellington. All those trees. It was even more impressive than the gardens or Mount Victoria.
I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. Were you able to find your bird?
Well, kinda. I found Amaya at least. She told me that the bird passed away.
Oh no, Miho. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I know they did all they could to help it. All of us did. I think I'll go back sometime. Just to look around. I feel like I could spend days there and still find new things.
I'd like to go with you sometime. It's been years since I've gone to visit myself.
That sounds great. I'd love to see it with you.
With a smile, Juliet pours us both some tea and sits down. I dump sugar into mine while she leaves hers untouched. Just like grabs just an undisclosed amount, just a handful of sugar cubes, and then like 90% of the tea is now sugar.
It's a date then.
Aww.
I was also wondering if you might accompany me somewhere tonight as well.
Oh, sure. Where did you want to go?
Well, as I'm sure you know, tomorrow is Halloween. It was always Cosette's favorite holiday. It's also a day to honor the dead. Every year at midnight, I go to lay flowers at her grave.
I reach across the table, offering my hand, which Juliet takes.
Of course I'll go.
Thank you. I thought perhaps we could leave some flowers for Zhongying as well. Only if you want to, of course.
I'd like that. I'm sure they loved flowers. I know I do.
I'm sure they'd be grateful to receive them.
Some human traditions and rituals still seem foreign to me, and not something I'd think about doing myself. That was true for plenty of other things that I now take for granted, though. Like holding hands and drinking tea. That's why we have two hands. One for a person we love, and one for tea. That's it. That's what hands are for, nothing else. Once we both drained our cups, we head out into the night together, beginning the walk to the cemetery. Along the way, Juliet guides us to a patch of wildflowers where she picks some to leave for Cosette. The ones she chooses have white petals and purple ones. I pick a handful that are dark blue. They remind me of the clothes Jungin was wearing when I first met them. Like usual, we're practically the only ones out this late. We pass by houses with the lights off and the curtains drawn, and the shops that are too dark to see into. I used to be more comfortable in the nighttime, where I felt invisible and secure. Although I don't feel the need to be hidden just to be safe anymore, I still enjoy the quiet calmness it provides, sort of like the nature preserve earlier. We reach the cemetery, and Juliet leads the way down several trails and through the trees. I remember which grave is Cosette's, even though it doesn't look like much different from the others. Juliet and I both come to a stop at the same time, pausing in front of the simple memorial. She stoops down and wipes some dust away from the nameplate and leaves the bundle of flowers that she chose. They're wrapped with a small ribbon that she brought with her, held in place by a small rock. She then steps back to stand beside me. I don't say anything, but silently take her hand again. She squeezes tightly. The last time we were here, I ran away as the reality of death and human mortality hit me. Now, knowing what I do and having accepted it, I can appreciate Juliet's loss so much more. So much love and so much of her life are just buried a few feet beneath us, with only a small stone to represent it all. Juliet clears her throat, and still facing Cosette's grave, begins to speak.
Even now, so many years after Cosette passed away, it still surprises me sometimes that she's gone. When I wake up, I half expect to hear her laughter from the hallway, or see her reading in the library, or find her shoes by the back door. By holding on to these little memories, these little pains, I thought I could keep her alive in my heart. There's no one else left to remember her. The way her laugh sounded, the books she enjoyed, the clothes she preferred. So I clung to those memories, for fear that they would cease to exist if I didn't. I've told you, Miho, how I've tried to live to honor Cosette, by doing my part to create the kind of world she dreamed about living in. A world of kindness and hope. Believe it or not, that was easy. Any pain or trouble was acceptable so long as it took me closer to that goal. Until one day, it wasn't. At the time, I thought that helping you was just another step down the path I had chosen for myself. But as time went on, and you blossomed and learned to live, it made me realize that I had reached a dead end. I had spent so long striving for this new world that I forgot to appreciate the one around me. And when I realized that, I felt trapped. Were I to stray from my path, I didn't know where it would take me. My world wasn't there anymore. Not just Cosette. Not just the people we knew. Technology improved. People's lives improved. And everything moved forward. Everything but me. All I could think to do was run away. As I always have when faced with a difficult problem. Whether throwing myself off of the world or refusing to face a life without my daughter. The only direction I've ever been able to move is backwards. Last night, when you told me that you wanted to do the things I'd like to do, for me to take the lead more often, being with you is the first thing I've wanted for myself in a long, long time. To the point where I'm not even sure how to do that.
Finally, Juliet faces me. Just like last night, just like in the library, just like so many other times before.
Can you show me? Can you show me how to move forward?
I gently take both of Juliet's hands and guide them to my heart, holding them against me. I can feel every beat and know that she can too.
We can figure it out together. You already helped me with that after all. After I found out Jungin was dead, I felt the same way. Like I didn't know what else to do with my life, or with myself. If you think about it, by searching for them for so long, I'd been doing the same thing you were all this time. But it was because of you and Aspen that I decided to stay in Wellington. The two of you showed me how to keep going, even when I didn't know where to go. And how just because they aren't around anymore, that doesn't change what they did for me. I wouldn't be here talking to you if it wasn't for them. So I'll always be grateful for that, even though they've been gone for so long.
I turn to look at Cosette's grave beside us. It would be fair to say she's changed my life too, indirectly.
It's the same thing with you and Cosette. She made your life great, and I'm sure you made hers great too. I didn't know her, but from everything you've told me about her, I'm sure she wouldn't want you to hurt or feel sad about her all the time. I'm sure she would have wanted you to smile when you think of her, and to find lots of other reasons to smile too.
Juliet also studies the moonlit grave. I wonder if she's picturing Cosette the person, or if she's seeing the stone for what it is. After a long time, she nods.
Yes. Yes, I do believe you're right. I'll never stop loving her, or missing her. She lived a wonderful life, and died a peaceful death. She'll remain at peace forevermore. But I'm still alive, and it's time that I acted like it. Can make a new life for ourselves here, one step at a time, together.
Right. Together. You're not alone anymore. Neither of us are. I just have one question though. You said here. Does that mean that you'll stay?
Yes. Maybe someday we'll go. But I want it to be because both of us want to. Not just me. There's plenty of time for that in the future. Right now, I think I'd like to learn to enjoy Wellington again. To see it the way you do. Fresh and exciting.
I'd like that too.
Relief washes over me like a wave. I was prepared to go with her, if it's what she really wanted. But I'd much rather stay here for a little while longer. After tonight, it feels like I can finally relax, without worry following me around. Juliet and I are still together, and we're not going anywhere. Whatever happens next, I'm sure we'll be able to handle it, because we have each other. I let go of Juliet so I can step forward and place the flowers that I brought for Jungin on the ground beside Cosette's grave. They're a little bit smooshed, but I'm sure that's alright. I don't think they'd mind. Almost immediately, a light breeze picks up, scattering the bundle lightly to the winds. I think that's alright too. I'll never forget about Jung-in either. No matter how far I go and how many people I meet, they'll always be special to me. They set me on my own path, the one that I walked for decades. If I could somehow tell them about everything I've seen and done since then, and about the new adventures that I'm sure to have with Juliet, I think they'd be just as excited for me as I am. I'm sad that I never got to thank them properly, but just like Cosette and Juliet, I think that living my life to its fullest is the best way I could do that. Juliet and I stay quiet for a little bit longer, both reflecting on everything. Finally, she puts her arm around me and gestures with her hand in the direction that we came from.
Well, shall we be getting back to the library? I imagine you could use some rest before tomorrow evening's activities.
Sounds good to me. I'm ready to go if you are.
Juliet turns to give one last look at the grave. The flowers she placed shake in the breeze while mine are spread further and further. She smiles at me.
Yes. I think I'm ready.
As the day winds down and starts to get darker, a light breeze starts to pick up. Not enough to be cold, but enough to make me glad I have my jacket. Aspen, Juliet, and I sit out on the front porch with the lights on, watching the road. Oh, okay, so I think we're close to the end of the chapter here. I'm pretty sure anyway.
How long until people start showing up?
Soon, I'd imagine. The early evening is when most trick-or-treating begins.
They'd better hurry before Miho eats all the candy.
Can't argue with that.
That's me. Sorry. Oh, that was the worst lead up to a sneeze ever. Ugh. Oh, that one hurt my face too. Oh. Okay. That's this button. I unwrap another piece and stuff it into my mouth, shoving the wrapper in my pocket with a bunch of others.
Maybe if you go knocking on doors, you could convince people you're a kid in a costume too. That way you could get your own candy.
I mean, if she goes around as a fox dragging a bag for candy, I'm pretty sure people would go with it.
Do you think that would work?
It's hard to talk with my mouth full of chocolate and caramel.
No, but it's funny to imagine.
I'd love to see her try.
Oh, look! Here come a few of them now.
Sure enough, a group of 3 kids appears at the bottom of the hill and start making their way up towards us. I stand up, the giant bowl in my hands.
Oh, how cute!
One of the kids has a white sheet draped over him with big holes cut out for the eyes. The other 2 are dressed like characters I've seen on TV. The 3 of them hold out open pillowcases, and I toss a handful of candy into each one.
Here you go.
The one with the big eyes goes even more wide-eyed.
Whoa, that's a lot. Thanks a bunch. Wait, was it? Should I take some back?
Oh, poor Bean, she doesn't understand. Aspen swats at me gently.
You can't do that.
The 3 kids hurry off, probably afraid that I really was going to reach in and reclaim some of the candy. I sit back down.
How much am I supposed to give them?
Usually a piece or 2, but it's not a problem. We still have several unopened bags inside.
Great.
She's thinking that because she wants to eat it all. I grab another piece for myself and munch on it.
Well, in that case,
Aspen reaches over and picks out a couple of candies for herself, too. It isn't long before the next batch of kids shows up with another close behind them. The second group even has some parents accompanying them. It gets later and later, but more kids start arriving rather than less. I hand out candy until my arms get tired, and Aspen takes over. More than once, Juliet has to go inside and get more bags of candy to refill the bowl.
This is more work than the library on a busy day.
Even my first day of work, when Aspen helped me run the desk, felt less busy than this evening does. But also, it's a lot of fun. Many of the kids have creative costumes, and I even recognize some of the characters they're dressed as. The less creative costumes are still cute too, and it's nice seeing so many happy smiles as they all walk away. It's not until the moon is high in the sky that the trick-or-treaters stop showing up. We can still hear the occasional whoop and shout from the streets nearby, but no one else comes up the path. The big bowl of candy is nearly empty, with less than a full layer left behind. A bunch of empty bags fill one of the recycling bins. In the end, we managed to go through all of the candy Juliet bought. Yeah, probably because you were eating it. After about 10 minutes with any more kids, we finally get up from the porch.
I believe we can call it a night.
That was certainly the busiest Halloween I've ever been a part of.
Really? I didn't know if that was normal or not.
For Welly, maybe. But I don't get many trick-or-treaters at my apartment. And back home, there are like maybe 5 kids in town at any given time.
Yeah.
More candy for you.
Speaking of which, I hope I can count on the two of you to finish off the leftovers we have here.
Just leave it with Miho.
You don't even have to ask.
See?
I'd better take what I can before Miho claims it all for herself, shouldn't I?
Not if I beat you to it anyway.
Laughing, the three of us clean everything up and then finally head back inside the library.
That was quite fun, but I do think I'm ready for bed. Is something wrong?
I barely register her words. Something is wrong, but I don't know what. As soon as I walk through the front door, I can tell, but I can't place what it is.
Miho?
Both of them stop walking, watching me with concern. Finally, it hits me.
It's cold.
It's cold.
It doesn't take me long to spot the source. One of the windows near the shelves, not far from Aspen's usual table, is wide open. The curtains flutter with the breeze. The two of them follow my line of sight.
Oh, did we forget to close this? But then, that doesn't make sense, does it? Why would we have just opened one of the windows?
We wouldn't. That window was definitely shut earlier.
It's Halloween. Maybe some kids snuck in here as a prank. Is anything missing?
The three of us look around, inspecting the shelves, front desk, and everything in between. If something's gone, it's not immediately visible.
I can't see anything out of the ordinary.
Me either.
Yeah.
Something still doesn't sit right with me.
I'm gonna go look upstairs.
The other two follow behind me. Juliet goes to check her office, but it appears untouched. Aspen waits at the top of the stairs, watching. Meanwhile, I go to my room. Grabbing the handle, I push the door open and turn on the lights. I can hardly believe what I see. My window is open too. My bedsheets and pillows are strewn across the floor like someone climbed across the bed. What few other possessions I have are also scattered around the room, as if a tornado had blown through.
Miho? Is something amiss?
I can hear them both hurrying my way as I remain frozen in the doorway. Behind me, Aspen gasps as she gets a glimpse of my room.
Why?
I have a feeling I already know the answer to one of those questions, but not the other. Stepping aside, I mechanically pick up my things and put them back where they belong. Everything is here, Except for
My scroll!
that little piece of paper. The only thing that I really care about is nowhere to be seen. I check under my bed and in every nook and cranny just to be sure, but it's gone. That fact is all the confirmation I need.
I'll be back.
I push my way past Aspen and Juliet's shocked faces and dash back downstairs. Both Aspen and Juliet shout after me as I barrel out of the library, but I ignore them both. The instant I'm outside, I transform and keep running. There's no question or doubt as to who took my scroll. The question is why. As angry as I could be, I force myself to stamp that feeling down, at least until I know Silver's reasons. The path to Mount Victoria is more crowded than I've ever seen it. Both the roads and sidewalks are full of people, mostly parents with their kids. Some of them point or cheer as I run past, but I don't give them a second thought. None of them try to stop me or get in my way. By the time I climb the mountain and reach Silver's part of the forest, it's dark. She isn't in any of her usual spots, but I can sense that she isn't far away. Racing through the darkness, I keep my nose near the ground, hot on her trail. Then suddenly, just like last time, I find her. She moves in the darkness, a patch of shadow that's a different color than the rest. Her bead glows as vibrant as ever, illuminating her wrist. It shines on the unfurled paper in her hand. Like always, she waits with her back to me.
So you came.
Of course I did. Give me back my scroll.
I keep my distance, but reach out my hand. She's just a few steps away. Tilting her head up to look at the starry sky. No, not the sky. The trees. I follow her gaze upwards and realize something. I've been here before. I recognize this tree. It's the one the bird fell from. That makes me pause. Has she been wondering about it all this time? Is this her way of asking? She did follow me all the way home. I soften my voice, but know that I may as well be blunt.
It died, you know. They weren't able to save it.
Her posture doesn't change, but by the subtle light of her bracelet, I can see her fingers clench the edge of my scroll more tightly.
I met the woman who rescued it. She said the same thing that you did. That's just how nature is.
Silence. Gritting my teeth, I try to contain my growing frustration. Normally, I can tolerate her silence. But tonight, instead of just coming to talk like she knows I would, she steals my most beloved possession and makes me chase her out here. All so she can ignore me?
Don't you have anything to say? You must have come here for a reason, didn't you?
More silence. Not even a breeze disturbs it. Finally, I've had enough. I step forward, snapping a branch beneath my shoes.
Hey! Answer me, damn it! Stop acting like you don't care about anything!
That gets her attention. She looks at me over her shoulder, face hidden except for her eyes. And then she faces me.
Were you to happen upon another burn, more broken than the first, would you still try to save it?
Of course.
Even knowing that your effort is likely to be futile?
Yeah, even then. At least there's a chance it would work out.
You speak like a human, fighting against the inevitability of death. While we could watch the river of life from its shores, you choose to struggle upstream. Why?
Why? Because otherwise it all just passes by. I did what you said and watched from the shores for so long because I didn't even think about joining it. But once I did, once I let someone pull me in, I realized I like it more this way. It's hard sometimes. I haven't even been trying that long, but those hard times just help me appreciate the good ones more. Or even at all. There's someone I met who was also afraid of getting hurt, and someone else who was afraid of just passing by. They showed me that those are parts of life too, just like death is for a lot of people. Who cares about living forever if you don't care about being alive? Immortal or not, it's all we have. You and me, my friends, that bird, it's the same for all of us. I could have run away. I thought about it a million times. It would have been a lot easier than staying. But I did stay. And so now, here I am. Someone took a chance on me once too. Even if I wouldn't have died, they still saved my life in a way. I thought it would be impossible for someone like me, like you and me, that it wasn't even worth the effort to try and change things. But I was wrong. And I'm glad that I was. And so that's why I do the same thing all over again, with the burn. Because if there's even a chance, it's worth trying.
Although I didn't say it, I can't help but think even talking like this is something relatively new for me. Unlike Silver, who talks more like Aspen's old books most of the time. Just goes to show that there are lots of different paths our lives could have taken. But they both brought us here together. While Silver is still thinking about what I said, her eyes suddenly go wide at the same time I feel something warm on my neck. Holding my necklace where I can see it, both Silver and I just stare as my bead brightens before our eyes. The glow intensifies to the point that Silver has to shield her eyes and look away, although somehow it doesn't bother me. I also watch as another eyelash-thin crack appears, and then another. For a moment, I half expect it to just shatter, but it stops after the third crack, still holding itself together. The light from it also dims a little bit, but it's still brighter than it was. When I let go, it falls back against my neck. The bead feels heavier than normal, too. Silver is able to look at me again, and though the shock has faded from her expression, her eyes still stay fixed on my bead. She laughs, but it's humorless. Shaking her head, she continues to stare at my necklace instead of my eyes.
I had hoped that by looking at this, I might be able to learn your secret. Some magic spell or incantation that you had invoked.
What secret?
At the very least, I thought I might understand. Even as I read it, I thought that I must be missing something. For what meaning could such simple instructions hold? Even as you arrived here, I hoped that perhaps you would reveal some missing part of the puzzle. So golden was your light as I approached your library that I thought it must be someone else. So bright that I could see it clearly. The same color as the person close to you. Now, I don't know if I should be disappointed or not to find there is no secret to these words. Is there?
Holding my scroll in front of her face the same way I held my necklace, her eyes glide across the characters.
수복강령. Please be happy. What simple nonsense. And yet, how could I deny that you've taken it to heart when your very aura tells me your truth?
Title drop, they said the thing! It's all I can do to blink, to breathe, to stay standing upright as the world narrows to just the two of us, all awareness of anything else falling away from me. Confusion is just as plain on Silver's face at my reaction as I struggle to speak.
You can read it? That's what it says?
After years of looking and trying to understand, And she can read it just like that? Silver, who says she cares nothing for people and their lives or culture. I'm not the only one stunned. The parchment falls from Silver's hands. She drops it in shock. It flutters to the ground and stays there, even as a budding breeze starts to blow. That shock changes into understanding, and then Silver laughs again. Really laughs. For the first time I've ever seen. Her usual dignified and threatening poise is gone as she laughs so hard that it echoes around the woods. Clutching her chest, it's all she can do to remain upright as she acts like she's just heard the world's funniest joke. Still, just like earlier, I'm not sure there's any humor in it. Finally, with a groan, she retrieves my scroll and then straightens up, wiping her eyes.
You're serious, aren't you? You never knew what it said before now.
I shake my head.
I would call you a liar if you were anyone else. You've made a fool of me without even trying. Or rather, I've made a fool of myself.
Yes, you have.
I thought your glow was the result of those words. But you achieved that by yourself. Whatever it is you feel, it's something you've learned on your own, isn't it? You truly believe all the things you said.
Maybe not on my own. I had a lot of help along the way. But yeah, I mean it. Every word.
I reach out a hand again, taking a step forward. Then another. And another. I stop just in front of Silver. All she has to do is take the final step forward. I don't demand anything. Just reach. She eyes my hand warily, like a stray dog trying to decide if it should trust someone. Oh, how the tables have turned! I hold my breath, waiting. With a rustle, she pushes the paper into my hand and then backs away, looking at the ground.
Your path is different than mine. We may have more in common than I once thought, but I still cannot follow behind you. Though I can understand why you walk it.
I nod.
And I understand why you said no. I hope you change your mind someday.
Perhaps. Although, I do not think we'll meet again.
Wait, why not? Are you leaving?
Soon. I don't know when. I haven't decided. But I made up my mind before I ever visited your library.
Oh,
You're disappointed.
I am. You're the first other Gumio I've ever known. You're like... family, I guess. Didn't you call us sisters before?
Silver blushes, averting her eyes. Aww.
Perhaps.
Sun.
Then that's what we are.
That's simple, is it?
It really is.
Silver shakes her head and looks around, regaining a bit of her standoffish composure. This is about the time when she'd typically transform and run away.
At least tell me before you leave, okay? Whenever it is.
She hesitates, but then agrees.
Fine. Goodbye, Miho.
Aww.
Bye, Silver.
She walks toward me rather than away and comes to a stop right beside me. We both face in different directions. Slowly, she raises a hand and awkwardly pats me on the shoulder. Just once. By the time I turn my head to look at her, all that I can see is the disappearing gleam of a silver fox fur as she blends into the night. I'm alone, but I don't feel alone. Looking at my scroll, there are a few new creases from where Silver held onto it, but they don't mess up the writing or anything. It's just another record of what we've been through together. The breeze from before picks up, making the paper flutter in my grip, and I use 2 hands to hold it. Seeing without reading, I let my eyes wander over the familiar characters. It's funny. All this time I spent not knowing what they said, just to find I've lived by them all along. Or at least, I've started to. Happiness? That's a new one for me too, I think. Another abstract concept that didn't seem meant for me. But like everything else, it got easier along the way. I roll my scroll back up and store it safely in my pocket. The woods are dark as I walk through them, but I'm not afraid. The shining light of my bead brightens the path, leading my way back home. And that's the end of Chapter 4. As soon as we hit Halloween, I was like, right, this is the bit. Also, that's just a really cute picture of Juliet. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to call it here. Yeah, 7 hours. Yeah, I know. I'm going to call it here, partly just because it's a good kind of cutoff point since we didn't finish Chapter 4 last week, but also I'm realizing I'm really not feeling well, part of why I started late earlier. Thanks for the resub, Franz. Quiet Bloop, well, you're just in time for me to kind of wrap up for tonight. I am... No, I don't have a lot of crunchy going on from a long day of travel yesterday. But yeah, I will catch you guys on Friday for Kingdom Hearts, and then Saturday we'll do a Digimon stream to kind of catch up. And then we'll start Chapter 5 proper next week. So we'll make Next Woman Wednesday extra special. Yeah. Because I'm also going to go crash. Yeah, go get some EP, buddy. And everyone else, thank you so much for coming by. I hope you have a good night. I hope you all get some good sleep. Like I'm definitely fucking about to. And I will see you all on Friday for more Kingdom Hearts. Have a good night, everybody.